All right, guys, so we looked at two examples here. We looked at the pepper moth, and we're looking at an example here. In both examples that we're going to talk about here as well, we had humans impacting which variation survives or which population survives. In the first one, what was the human impact? The pepper moth, the Industrial Revolution. Here, we're talking about pesticide. So farming, definitely we use a lot of pesticides to control insects so that we have greater harvest yields. All right, so the first one, yes, a lot of you have that right. Yes, some insecticides have a natural resistance, right? They didn't adapt this in their lifetime. They were just born with this natural resistance. That natural selection is at play here because it's inherited from their genes, okay? That was the first one, yep. And the second one would be the plants are sprayed, and the ones that have the resistance, they survive. So the red ones there, they're the ones that survive. And obviously, they're going to reproduce, and some of them will still be the ones that weren't resistant. So they would have offsprings of those, but very few. So here we would have fewer that are not resistant to the pesticides. Then we have a spray again. We have even more resistance. So eventually, what's going to happen? What do you think eventually is going to happen?
The pesticide's going to stop working?
Now, pesticide's not going to be very effective because the ones that were resistant were able to survive and reproduce. So then what will we have to do?
A stronger pesticide.
Stronger pesticide, which may be what?
Harmful to the plants?
Harmful to the plants as well, harmful to other species, maybe harmful to us as well. All right, very good. Let's move on now. I'm just going to give you a quick recap here. All right, so we make sure we learn these words and understand what we're talking about. So a small percentage of insects have a mutation, all right, genetic mutation, that allows their body to break down the pesticides safely. When crops are sprayed with pesticide, almost all the insects die, but the resistant ones, they have a resistance to it. They survive. The surviving resistant insects will breed among themselves with insects in a new area. Many of the resulting offspring will inherit the gene for resistance, right? And this is how evolution works. Not throughout an organism's life, where they're adapting to their environment, but certain genes or variations that allow them to survive in that environment. All right, very good. Now, we talked about resistance. We talked about other things that, which is kind of a hot topic now as well, is antibiotics. Now, you might have heard about this. I know there was an article in the news not too long ago about how we're overusing antibiotics. All right. So we're talking about bacteria. Now, bacteria is an organism. You can read here, bacteria can evolve to resist the effects of antibiotics. Right? Now, so if we have bacteria in a petri dish, right? Just random bacteria, the offspring, and they're reproducing. You have one that has a mutation, a genetic mutation, that allows it to safely metabolize an antibiotic. Right? So that one. So if you get a bacterial infection, you take antibiotics. Let's just say you have this. You're going to kill off all those other ones that weren't resistant, but that one that was resistant would survive. And then what is that one going to do?
It's going to reproduce.
Reproduce. So it's going to reproduce, and it's going to be a lot more bacteria that is resistant to that antibiotic. Is that clear, guys? And this is what we hear about antibiotic-resistant strains and even viruses as well, making it harder and harder for us to treat these types of infections. Right, so, in your on the left-hand side of the sheets that you just filled out, let's see if we can fill in these blanks. All right, the process of natural selection causes, on the left-hand side of your sheet. The one we just did, yeah. The one we just did. Yep, members of the population to evolve resistance to, what do you think? Selective agent. So it's a selective agent that was killing them. They evolved a resistance to that selective agent. Okay. When dash are used, almost all dash or kill. That's not on your sheet. So what are we talking about here? What are we using here? Antibiotics. So when antibiotics are used, almost all what are killed?
Bacteria.
All the bacteria. A small percentage of the
Mutated ones. Bacteria.
mutated is a good word
Better
as well. So
suited.
a smaller percentage of the better suited have a mutation that allow their bodies to break down the what?
And
The antibiotic, much more safely. All right. These resistant antibiotic, no, sorry, not antibiotics. These resistant what?
bacteria.
Bacteria are left to multiply. Most of the offspring inherit
Mutation.
the mutation, but now what do we call it?
Variation.
That's a variation, but now it's something to the antibiotic.
Resistance.
Resistant to the antibiotic. Over several generations, the entire,
Population.
what type of population?
Resistant.
Resistant population quickly becomes resistant to the
Antibiotics.
antibiotic. All right, guys, so I think you have enough knowledge where you can answer these questions here. All right, so each one of you will get one. So here's just a breakdown of what we just talked about. Yep. Now this was taken straight out of a news article. How antibiotics are working.